This is Korean news for February 21, 2022. While the Gyeonggi Housing and Urban Corporation, GH, is controversial about renting the apartment next door to Democratic Party presidential candidate Lee Jae-myung as a dormitory for employees, the head of GH's Business Planning Division, which oversees the operation and management of the dormitory, is the president of candidate Lee Jae-myung in Songnam Mayor and Gyeonggi Province. It was confirmed on the 20th that it was Hyung-soo, who served as the chief of staff during the branch office. GH is in the position of I rented an apartment without knowing if candidate Lee Jae-myung lives next door to the dormitory, but the political circles say that the persuasiveness of the explanation is gradually diminishing. According to the coverage of this paper, GH is operating a total of 133 employee dormitories, including 31 headquarters and 102 business units. The department in charge of operation and management of the dormitory is the General Affairs and Human Resources Office, which belongs to the Management Planning Headquarters. A GH official said, the Panjo Project Group signed a charter contract for the controversial dormitory in Sunidong, Songnam, and decided to enter and leave the staff. Hyung-soo, who is in charge of the GH Management Planning Division, served as the chief of the secretary and the head of the Planning and Coordination Office during candidate Lee's days as mayor of Songnam. When candidate Lee was elected governor of Gyeonggi-do in 2018, he served as the chief of staff of Lee and the chief of secretary of the governor of Gyeonggi-do. Afterwards, Hyung-soo moved to the head of the GH Management Planning Division in July 2019, and recently served as the acting president. This is because when Governor Lee resigned from his post as a governor for running for president, GH President Hyun-wook Lee moved to the presidential campaign, and Vice President Tae-jun Ahn also resigned to run for local elections. The contract for renting an apartment in Sunidong was made in August 2020, when Lee Hyun-wook, who was once called Little Lee Jae-myung, was the president. When the controversy erupted, former President Lee Hyun-wook claimed, I saw the media and found out that the dormitory was next door to candidate Lee Jae-myung. However, when it was reported that General Manager Hyung-soo, who had closely assisted candidate Lee as the chief of staff for about 10 years, was the general manager of the dormitory operation, inside and outside of GH, it is saying that even the head of GH, Hyung-soo did not know where Jae-myung Lee's house was. Is it okay? Was pointed out. Candidate Lee has owned an apartment in Sunidong, Songnam-si since 1998. General Manager Hyung-soo said, the president and general manager cannot look at every single task. The dormitory is leased and managed by each department, he said. Lee Junseok, leader of the People's Power, said on the 20th, people who drive the People's Party election campaign buses write a suicide note before they die. At the funeral ceremony of a party official who died in a carbon monoxide poisoning accident on a campaign bus, Cheol-Soo, the presidential candidate of the People's Party, said, I am determined to never let his sacrifice be in vain, risking my life. Is a reaction to chopping. The People's Party said, apologize for the insulting remarks about the deceased and resign. Presidential candidate Cheol-Soo, at the funeral ceremony for former chairman A in Nonsan, Gyeong, and Ji Yumsan in Cheongnam Province, who died in a carbon monoxide poisoning accident in an election campaign vehicle on the 18th, said, I will not yield to any whines and waves, I will support the will of my comrades. I will never give up, he said. On the 19th, while conducting a live broadcast on YouTube under the title I Will Never Stop, he said, I have decided to risk my life and never let his sacrifice be in vain. Person A was found dead from carbon monoxide poisoning in the election campaign bus of candidate Cheol-Soo, which was stopped on the road near Cheonan Terminal in Sinsadong, Cheonan-si on the 16th. Shin Nari, deputy spokesperson for the People's Party's election committee, said, Lee Junseok, the leader of the People's Power, S remarks are not only blasphemy against those who have worked hard for the People's Party to achieve a better regime change, but they are also blatant remarks that sprinkle salt on the wounds of the bereaved family. Even an accidental accident has undergone a strategic calculation, and party leader Lee Junseok, the power of the people who only speaks of recklessness, apologizes immediately and urges him to resign from his position as representative. About a week or so before the 20th presidential election, the first official TV debate hosted by the National Election Commission will be held on the 21st. This is the first debate hosted by the National Election Commission, and this debate is considered one of the major variables at the end of the election. The discussion will be held for 2 hours from 8 p.m. on MBC. The theme is Economic Measures in the Era of Corona and Economic Policy Direction of the Next Government, etc. It is expected that the candidate with the initiative will nominate other candidates for 9 minutes to discuss the overall economic field, thereby verifying the economic promises made by each candidate. Democratic Party presidential candidate Lee Jae-myung is expected to emphasize that he is a competent candidate for the economy by emphasizing the strength of being bright in the real economy and the economic policies of the governor's time. He is also expected to focus on the issue of compensation for small business losses, such as the formation of an additional supplementary budget. Presidential candidate Lee Jae-myung visited his political hometown of Gyeonggi-do on the 19th and focused on coronavirus public sentiment such as compensation for losses for small business owners and switching to smart quarantine. Presidential candidate Yoon Seok-Yeol is expected to break the frame of candidate Lee Jae-myung that he is weak in the economy and to criticize the Moon Jae-in administration's income-led growth and real estate policies to create a public opinion for government judgment. Candidate Seok-Yeol Yoon focused on preparing for the debate without conducting a field campaign the day before. Ahn Cheol-Soo, the presidential candidate of the People's Party, who declared the breakdown of the unification of the opposition the day before and showed his will to complete the presidential election on his own, will criticize debates for these 4 people on the 25th and March 2, respectively. Other candidates who do not meet this criterion will be discussed separately for 2 hours starting at 11 p.m. on the 22nd. A 7-month-old infant who was diagnosed with the new Corona-19 and was receiving home treatment started playing games and was transported to the hospital, but eventually died. According to the Gyeonggi-do Fire and Disaster Headquarters on the 20th, at around 8:33 p.m. on the 18th, a 119 report was received saying that a 7-month-old infant had a high fever. The complainant was his parents. At that time, the 7-month-old infant and his parents were diagnosed with corona and were receiving treatment at home. The ambulance arrived at the residence within 6 minutes of receiving the report. When paramedics arrived, the 7-month-old infant was said to be in cardiac arrest. Paramedics performed CPR and inquired about a hospital where they could be transported. However, it was difficult to find a hospital to receive a 7-month-old infant due to the rapid increase in the number of corona patients. In the end, they secured a bed at a university hospital in Ansan and transferred a 7-month-old infant. We arrived at the hospital at 9:17 p.m., about 40 minutes after receiving the report, but the 7-month-old infant was already dead. Police are investigating the exact cause of the 7-month-old's death. The Central Quarantine Countermeasures Headquarters announced that there were 95,362 new confirmed cases as of midnight on the 21st. Since the first confirmed case in January 2020, the cumulative number of confirmed cases has exceeded 2 million. There were 480 patients with severe gastritis. Thank you for watching today. Please like and subscribe.